EJ Liddell was a 4-star recruit in high school and had a myriad of college offers to choose from. Liddell ultimately committed to Ohio State in November of 2018 and went on to play 3 seasons for the Buckeyes. Liddell appeared in 31 games as a freshman, but didn't start any of them and played just 16 minutes per game. In his sophomore and junior seasons, Liddell started all 61 games he played in, including 3 NCAA tournament games. Liddell's counting stats improved steadily across the board in his time at Ohio State, and he also improved his efficiency as a scorer. It now appears unlikely that Liddell will return for his senior season at Ohio State. Instead, it looks like he will be hearing his name called in the late first round of the 2022 NBA draft. One strength for Liddell is how strong he is. In high school, Liddell was already a big guy, coming in at 6'7", 220 pounds. In college, though, he has added 20 pounds and is just overall built like a tank. One reason Liddell can be so effective driving to the basket is because he's very difficult to knock off balance. Defenders just seem to bounce off him when he's driving to the basket. He also vacuums up rebounds despite not necessarily being the tallest guy out there. He's just so difficult to push away from the basket because of his strength. Liddell can present matchup issues because he's quick, so he can give a lot of big guys difficulty, but smaller players just can't contain him because of how strong he is. From a physicality perspective, Liddell looks like he should have no problem adjusting to the NBA. Another strength for Liddell is scoring from all levels of the floor. Liddell is a unique prospect in this regard. Some guys can only score at the basket efficiently or only shoot in the mid-range, but not from beyond the arc. Liddell has shown the ability to score efficiently from all levels of the floor and also in a variety of situations. Liddell has the strength and finishing ability to score at the basket. He shot 37% from 3 this season, and he is deadly in the mid-range. Liddell is a master at recognizing when his defender has given him just enough space to get his shot off, and as long as he's able to get it off, there's a good chance it's going in. Liddell might not have had the most gaudy scoring numbers in college, but he is great at creating his own shot. He's a guy that you can throw the ball to if you need to bail out a broken possession. He might not ever be the number 1 scoring option for an NBA team, but he's a great guy to have out there offensively if you need a bucket. One final strength for Liddell is his ability to handle the basketball. This is the skill that ties the rest of Liddell's offensive game together. If Liddell could only shoot the ball well or only play bully ball, he'd be much easier to defend. But Liddell can handle the ball very well, and this makes him a matchup problem. If you put a big guy on him out on the perimeter, he can usually just drive right by them. And if you put a smaller, quicker defender on him, he can just put it on the floor and use his strength to get to the basket. His handle can cause additional headaches with how effective he's been from beyond the arc. As a defender, you have to respect the shot and close out hard, but then he can pump fake and blow by the defender to get the defense scrambling. One weakness for Liddell is his shot can get a bit flat at times. Overall, Liddell is a good shooter from an efficiency standpoint, so there's not too much to complain about, but I think it does need to be mentioned that sometimes his shots turn into line drives. I think the thing that makes Liddell special as a shooter is he seemingly never misses left or right with his shots. This is where it can become noticeable that his shot gets flat. His misses either drill the front of the rim or the back iron. There are times when he puts a shot up that you can just tell there's not nearly enough arc for the ball to go in. The scary thing is, Liddell turned into a good shooter despite struggling with a flat shot. If he can continue to work on adding arc to his shots, he could become a really good shooter someday. Another weakness for Liddell is vertical athleticism. While Liddell is ready for the NBA from a physicality standpoint, there definitely could be an adjustment period for him dealing with the level of athleticism. As mentioned previously, Liddell is strong enough that he can drive to the basket on almost anyone, but even in college he dealt with his fair share of blocked or altered shots around the basket because he's more of a below-the-rim player. Liddell isn't super short relative to other NBA forwards at 6'7", but he certainly isn't big enough to consistently finish over guys without getting good elevation. Liddell will have to continue to perfect his touch around the basket to be a solid finisher in the NBA, or else he could be forced to become even more of a shooter. One final weakness for Liddell is shot selection. This is one that should usually be taken with a grain of salt when it comes to college prospects. The reason for that is, oftentimes they're the number 1 scoring option for their teams and are counted on to take difficult shots. That being said, I do worry that sometimes Liddell gets blinders on with the ball in his hands and puts up questionable shots. He can get his shot off from almost anywhere on the court regardless of the defense, and this can lead to him putting up shots in disadvantageous situations. There are times when he'll put up heavily contested shots in the mid-range with plenty of time left on the shot clock. In these situations, you'd like to see Liddell look to playmake or drive to the basket more often than he does. It's great that Liddell has shown the ability to make these tough shots, but teams also won't want him to fall in love with them. It's entirely possible that Liddell gets to the NBA and this issue ceases to exist, but it's something that teams will want to be aware of. This first clip shows off how strong Liddell is. The play starts with the ball getting swung over to Liddell on the wing. Liddell recognizes that his defender is coming at him from the side and puts the ball on the floor to drive to the basket. As the defender tries to cut him off, he just bounces off Liddell and falls down as Liddell finishes the layup. It's very tough to knock Liddell off balance on a drive. He should have no problem dealing with NBA level strength. This next clip displays how Liddell can be a dynamic scorer. The play starts with Liddell getting the entry pass in the wing mid-range area. He then sizes up his defender, creates just a little space using his legs, and then rises up and drills the jump shot. Liddell has shown the ability to score from all levels of the floor, as well as both open and under pressure. He just needs a sliver of space to get his shot off. This type of skill will be valuable to him and the team that drafts him. This final clip gives us an example of how Liddell can struggle with shot selection. The play starts with Liddell sizing up the defender in the wing mid-range area. Liddell backs the defender in a bit and sees the double team coming. Liddell then spins into a fadeaway jump shot and misses short. While Liddell is capable of making that shot, with the second defender closing in, Liddell probably should have looked to move the ball around and find the open teammate for an easier shot. EJ Liddell will likely be one of the only, if not the only, upperclassmen taken in the first round of the 2022 NBA draft. He used his time in college well to develop his game, steadily improving over the 3 seasons and becoming a well-rounded player. As an NBA player, I don't think Liddell will be a guy that will be relied on to score a ton of points or be a lockdown defender every night. To me, he seems like a player that can help fill in gaps for a team. He can provide some scoring punch off the bench or as a second or third option with the starters. He'll chip in with rebounding and can be a solid team defender. He's not a star-type player at this time, but he'll be a good guy to have on the roster as a sort of super role player. My NBA comp for EJ Liddell is PJ Washington. Washington is a little bit more of a vertical athlete than Liddell is, but both are stocky forwards that can shoot from the outside, put the ball on the floor, and score around the basket. Washington averaged 10 points and 5 rebounds in 27 minutes per game this season, mostly coming off the bench. I think this seems like a reasonable expectation of Liddell as well.